Hello everyone and welcome to day 4 of Kaggle's 30 days of ML. In day 1 and 2 and 3 we learned some basic stuff and day 3 was functions and day 4 is about booleans, booleans and conditionals in Python, which is also something very interesting. You will be using it every day when you're working with machine learning. So it's good to learn about these. So let me copy this notebook and then we can proceed so that I can run this. So what are booleans? Python has a type of variable called bool, also known as boolean, and it has two possible values. It's true and false. So here you see we have defined a variable x and it's equal to true. So we say there is a variable x whose value is true. And now we print x and print the type of x. And let's see what we get. Okay, so here you get, when we print x, you get true because you defined it to be true. And when you print the type of x, you get class bool. So it's a class and it's a Boolean class. So now you should understand that there is a difference. So if I take x equal to true, now this is a string. So if you want to write true or false, and if you want to have the Boolean type, you should you must write it without the quotes. So now here, if I run this one, I will get a class string, but you won't be able to distinguish between the print. So this is something that you have to take care of. Here you can write, let's see what happens if I write print true equal to true, and that is false. So what this two equal twos are doing, so it's comparing if a statement on the left hand side is same as the one on the right hand side in every aspect. So if I do something like print 3.0, which is a float, equal to 3, then it's giving me true. So this is something that you have to remember. So now it says rather than putting true or false directly in our code, we usually use Boolean values from Boolean operators. And this is one of the Boolean operators. These are comparison operators. So if you have two equals, it says if A is equal to B. If you have A less than B, then A less than B, which is simple, or less than equal to, greater than equal to, greater than, and this is a little bit different. A not equal to B, then you have an exclamation mark and an equal sign. And now we write a function which says, can someone of the given age run for president in the US? So the US Constitution says you must be at least 35 years old to run for the president. So we take age as input to the function and we return age greater than equal to 35. So this can be done in many different ways. So let's first run this one. So can a 19-year-old run for president? And here we supply the argument age equal to 19, and here argument age is 45. So now we can also do it in a different way. So here we can use if statements, if or else. So if age greater than equal to 35, return true, else return false. So this is something that we have not studied or seen yet, but this is also how we can do that. So it's going to return the same answers, but obviously returning it this way is much easier and simpler, also looks good. So you avoid 4 lines of code And that's why Boolean operators are much useful. So here, okay, 3.0 equal to 3. I've already shown you this one. So this will return true, but sometimes they can be tricky. So tricky is like, now you have a float here and you have an int, you're comparing them, that's fine. But if you have a string and you're comparing it to an int, then what happens? It's not equal, right? So to make this equal, what you can do is convert this string number to an integer or a float, and then the answer will be true. Okay, so now we have another function, is underscore odd. So we provide a number and we take the remainder, we divide by 2, take the remainder. If the remainder is 1, then it's odd. If not, no. So now what's happening here is you have supplied the number 100 and you're saying 100 percentage 2, which is 0 because 100 is divisible by 2, is equal to 1, and that's false. So you're getting false. And now if instead of 100 you have -1, or let's say you have 3, so in this case what happens, you have a remainder which is 1, and the number is not fully divisible by 2, so the number is odd. So this is how you can use Boolean operators with arithmetic operators that you have learned in the previous lesson. So yeah, this is the thing that you must remember. You have to use 2 equal to signs instead of 1 equal to. So when you write x equal to 2, you are assigning a value to x. But if you write x equal to 2, you're comparing the value of x to 2. The next thing that we come across is combining Boolean values. So now we have written a function, can run for president, which is just an extension of the function that we had seen before. And it has 2 arguments, age, which is the old argument, and is natural born citizen. So if the US Constitution says that you must be a natural born citizen and at least 35 years old, what you can do is you can return is natural born citizen, which is a Boolean type, and age greater than 35. So now here, let's remove the parentheses and see what happens. So can run for president 19 and true is false. Can run for president 55 and false is false. And can run for president 55 and true is true. And even if we include the parentheses, it's going to be the same. Okay, false, false, true. And again, false, false, true. So here, parentheses is only for our eyes. So it tells you, okay, this is a separate statement, this is a separate statement, and then you have an and in between. And remember, these values are Booleans. So if you enclose them in quotes, your results can change. So we don't do that. So here we are combining 2 different Boolean values and comparing them together. So now it says, can you guess the value of this expression? True or true and false. So let's run it and see what it is. So it says it's true. It tells you that and is evaluated before or expression, and that's why the first expression above is true. If we evaluated from left to right, we would have calculated true or true first, which is true, and then taken and of that result with a false, giving final value of false. So true or true is true, and false with true will give you false. But here, the answer that you get is true. So now it's the order of precedence. And when you click on this link, you will come to Python's documentation. And here is the order of precedence. So like expressions are evaluated first, then blah, blah, blah. Then you have plus, minus, shifts. Then you have ampersand, and then you have not, and or. So and is evaluated before or. So you don't need to memorize it at all. So like when you have doubt, what you can do is you can keep them in parentheses. So parentheses will always be evaluated first. So true and false is false and true. So this will give you true. If you keep the parentheses here, then you should get false. So that's something that you have to remember. So now it's telling you like prepared for weather. Let's say if someone is prepared for weather. So if you have an umbrella, and okay, let me do it again. So if you have an umbrella or rain level is less than 5 and have hood or not rain level greater than 0 and is workday. So this looks very complicated. I don't know what the person is trying to achieve here, but they have written that I'm trying to say that I'm safe from today's weather if I have an umbrella or if the rain is not too heavy and I have a hood. Otherwise, I'm still fine unless it's raining and it's a work day. So now this expression, when you look at it, it looks like something very complicated. I don't even know what's going to return. And that's why we enclose things in parentheses. So have umbrella or rain level less than 5 and have hood. So this is inside one parenthesis or not. And then you have another parenthesis. And here it says you can add even more parentheses if you like, if it helps readability. So have umbrella or, and this whole thing is evaluated first. So we evaluate this one, do an or, and then do an or with have underscore umbrella. So prepared for weather, have umbrella or this thing, rain less than 5 and have hood. So you evaluate anything inside the bracket first and then go outside. I hope you're able to understand. If not, let me know in the comments and I will try to explain better. Okay, so now I've already told you a little bit about the conditional statements, if and else. So there is one more thing called else if. And here what we are doing is we are writing a function called inspect, which takes an argument x and says if x is 0, print x comma is 0. If else if x is greater than 0, print x is positive. Else if x is less than 0, print x is negative. Else it's unlike anything I've ever seen, so don't have any other case. So now you do inspect 0, so 0 is 0, minus 15 is negative. So yeah, Boolean operators are used quite a lot with if and else statements. So here you have to take care of indentation again. So 4 spaces usually. One more thing that you can do here is let's say if x is 0, print is 0, and if it's a simple if else thing. So instead of writing else, you can let's return 0 else. So you can do else and then you can write return statement, but you can also just write it here, return -1. Let's say if it's 0, it's going to return 0. If it's not 0, it's going to return -1. So now when I print this and I print this one, it gives me 0 and -1. So the thing is, when it gets to the return statement, it doesn't execute anything outside that. And here, in the second statement, we are not going inside this if, so we're directly going to this return. So this is also one more way of using the return statement. So now we have a function x, and it says if x is 0, only printed when x is positive. Also only printed when x is positive, x equal to something. Always printed regardless of value. So instead, if we had used some kind of return here, this function, this statement would not have been executed. But right now it is, because it's not returning anything. So it executes this one first, then it executes this one, and it executes this one. Get it? And so for f equal to 1, when x is positive 1, also when printed when x is positive, x equal to 1, and for x equal to 1, you get these 3 prints. But when x is 0, it's not greater than 0, these 2 are not printed. So that's why you get only the last one. So that's your if statement. Now Boolean conversion. So yeah, this is also something very nice and something you should know about. So we have seen int, which turns things into int, and float, which turns things into float. So we have already seen that, and I think it was in day 1 or 2. So now you have bool. So this is also an inbuilt function which converts things to bool. So if you write bool of 1, you will get true. Bool of 0 is false. Bool of a string is always true. And bool of an empty string is false. So if I'm right, yeah, I am. So here you see bool of an empty string is false, but bool of string with something inside it, it's true. So this is a way to check. So let's say you're saying def some function with an argument x, which is a string, and you're saying if x, return hello, else return by. And x can be none. So now if I run this fn and I say x is nothing, so you return by. And if x has some value, you return hello. So now you are also comparing with none. So if you have to compare with none, you can just do if of x. And like an empty string is always none. And that's why bool generates false. So now it says we can use non-Boolean objects in if conditions and other places where Boolean would be expected. Python will implicitly treat them as their corresponding Boolean value. So what it means is if you have written if equal to 0 and then you're trying to print something, it's never going to this part of the code. So elif, you have written something, so here it's elif true, and then it's printing spam. So this chunk of code will print spam. So if I write if 1, and that's always true, so when we go to this statement, true is printed. So this is also treated as true. So if you don't compare it with anything, it will implicitly treat them as corresponding Boolean value. So Boolean value of this is true, Boolean value of this is false, and if statement, if it doesn't encounter true, it doesn't go there. So if I write it like this, and I say elif 1 print hello. Now what happens? This is false, this is false, this is true, so it should print hello. And that's all about this exercise today, this tutorial. So now we can go to exercise. So now in the exercise, the first one is many programming languages have sign available as a built-in function. Python does not, but we can define one. So it is asking you to create a function called sign that takes a numerical argument and returns -1 if it's negative, 1 if it's positive, and 0 if it's 0. So this is something that we have already done. So we start defining a function by writing def and then sign and take an argument x, let's say, and we can do it with if else. So if x is equal to 0, return 0, else elif x equal to x less than 0, return -1, else return 1. And that should work. But this can also be simplified. So you remember here we are returning it. So after return, we don't execute any of this code. If you don't execute any of this code, why do you need if? So why do you need elif? You don't need else if. You can just write if x is 0, return 0. If x is less than 0, return -1. And here you don't even need a else. So you can also do it like this. So if it goes here, it returns 0. If it goes here, it returns -1. If it doesn't go anywhere, it returns 1. And this should also be correct. Okay, now it says that we have decided to add logging to our toSmash function from previous exercises. So this was seen in previous exercises. So let's see what the logging function is doing. Return number of leftover candies that must be smashed after distributing the number of given number of candies evenly between 3 friends. So toSmash 91 should return 1, and it's saying that whenever the function is executed, it prints something. So it prints splitting the number of candies which has been provided, print something candies, and return total %3. Okay, so simple stuff. So when I execute this, it says splitting 91 candies and then it's returning 1. So what happens if we call it with total candies equal to 1? So let's see, splitting 1 candies. So it should instead say splitting 1 candy. So now you have to modify the function to for it to say candy when it's just 1 candies, one candy. So here you can write if total candies equal to 1, print splitting 1 candy, else take this stuff, and that's the original one. Right, so if it's 91 candies, then it's candies. If it's just 1 candy, then it's writing candy. Simple stuff. Okay, let's see what the official answer is. Yeah, it's the same like we wrote. And now it tells you, okay, you can also do it like this. So I won't go for it in this lecture, but this is also one of the ways. So you have splitting, then you write total candies, and for the third and final word, you are writing an expression using if. So choose candy if total candy is equal to 1, else candies. So this is also one way of writing this statement, and that makes it very compact. Okay, now we move to the next exercise. So it says that in this tutorial we have been deciding whether we are prepared for the weather. And I said I'm safe from the weather if I have an umbrella, or if the rain isn't too heavy and I have a hood. Otherwise, I'm fine unless it's raining and it's a work day. So now the function uses our first attempt at turning this logic into a Python expression, and it says that there is a bug in the code and you have to find it. To prove that, prepare for whether it's buggy, come up with set of inputs where either the function returns false but should have returned true, and the function returned true but should have returned false. So how are you going to do that? So to find the bug, what we have to do is we have to say if the function returned false but it should have returned true, the function returned true but it should have returned false. So let's see what's happening here. One quick thing that we can do is make have umbrella to false. So now here we have false or rain level is less than 5. So this is true. And have hood is true or not rain level greater than 0 is false, and is work day is true. So first we evaluate the not, and it's saying not false, so this will become true. True and true is true, true and true is true, and this is true and this false, so it should return false. Similarly, we can either change the rain level, but instead of that, let's change rain level greater than 0. So let's make rain level to -1 and see what happens. So now it's giving me true again. So how this becomes true? So you have false, then or true and true. So this is true and this is true, and or not rain level greater than 0, false and true. So not false is evaluated first, so this becomes true. And then we have the same expression as before. So now what if we change it to 5, let's say, or 4? Okay, so we have false or true and true or not true and true. So this one becomes false. I'm sorry, false and true is false, and true is true, and false, true, or false or true or false will be false, true, and that's why it returns true. So that's also correct. So now let's try to change is workday to false, and that's also true, and this is also incorrect. And what we have done, so you can check this, we now change have hood to false. Let's keep this to true, and then you get false again. So this will change to false and it gives you the correct result. But here what's happening, so again the same thing is happening here. So here you have false, rain level is less than 5, that is true. You have an or in between, and have hood is false or not rain level greater than 0. So this is true and false. So here it will be it will be false. False and false is false, and here true and false will become false, and you get the answer as false. Whereas The person said, otherwise, I'm still fine unless it's raining and it's a work day. So it is raining and it's a work day, but what they're trying to say combines these two expressions together. And they have not done that. And thus the answer that you got here is false, but it should be true. I know it's a little bit complicated to understand, but if you practice yourself, you will understand that. And that's what they say here, that the key problem is that Python implicitly parenthesizes the last part. So you have seen that whenever I was adding not, I was calculating the not part first and then everything else. So this part I was calculating first. So that's not what was meant by the author. The author mentions not should come here. You should calculate this part first. So that's what the bug is. So now it says a function is negative below is implemented correctly. It returns true if the given number is negative and false otherwise. However, it's more verbose than it needs to be. We can actually reduce the number of lines of code of this. I've already told you that. So concise is negative is if number less than 0, return true, else return false. So return a number, if it's less than 0, it will return true, otherwise it will return false. So that's all. Great, now let's move to the fifth part. And here it says there are 3 Boolean variables, ketchup, mustard, and onion, and they represent whether a customer wants a particular topping on their hot dog. Okay. We want to implement a number of Boolean functions that correspond to some yes or no questions about customer's order. So here they have given example. This is onionless hot dog, and it returns whether customer doesn't want onions. So if the customer doesn't want onions, you can just return. If the customer wants onion, you return onion. If the customer doesn't want onion, return not of onion. And here, these 3 can take only values like true or false. So if the customer wants all the toppings, so if the customer wants all 3 toppings, what can you return? So return ketchup and mustard and onion. So if the customer wants all of them, so this should be true, and that is correct. And moving on to the next one, if the customer wants a plain hot dog, so what is a plain hot dog with no toppings? So if the customer doesn't want any toppings, you have to return true. So return if the customer wants, let's say, if at least one topping, you will write ketchup or mustard or onion. So this is if the customer wants at least one topping. So if the customer doesn't want any topping, you can just do a not of this. And that's what they have done here. And you can also do it not ketchup and not mustard and not onion. Or you can just take not outside and do ketchup or mustard or onion. Okay, exactly one sauce. So return whether customer wants either ketchup or mustard, but not both. So if the customer has ordered hot dog with ketchup and not mustard, you can say return ketchup and not mustard. And if the customer has ordered hot dog with mustard and without ketchup, you can say not ketchup and mustard. And now these two are different statements, so let's not confuse ourselves. And here what we can do is we can take an or of them. So if ketchup is true and there is no mustard, so this one will be true and this one will be false. So this is exclusive or XOR. And that's the correct answer. Now, if the customer wants exactly one topping, so return whether the customer wants exactly one of the 3 toppings. Now, this is an interesting one. So these 3 values can be true or false. So when you add them up, it can have a maximum value of 3 and minimum value of 0. Okay, so now here you can write the maximum value is 3, minimum is 0. So you can just return ketchup plus mustard plus onion equal to 1. So you just compare it to 1. So this way the person has ordered hot dog with exactly one of the toppings, but you don't know which one. But yeah, and you can also do it this way. So you convert everything to int, or you can just do it like this. That's also fine. So here it says that Python implicitly does the integer conversion. And that's it for this exercise. There is one optional exercise which you can take a look at. Today I will not go through this optional exercise, but you can take a look at it. Thank you everyone for joining for day 4, and I will see you in day 5. And if you like the video, do click on the like button, do subscribe, do tell your friends about it, and see you tomorrow. Bye bye.